Roses are red, violets are blue, trim your balls, and your date will thank us too. What's up, fellas? Valentine's Day is knocking, and Manscaped is the remedy for what the love doctor ordered. His prescription? The all-new Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, designed to elevate your grooming game and shine like the heartthrob you are. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Go to manscaped.com to snag 20% off plus free shipping with our new code SHOW20. So, let's talk about the hero of Valentine's Day, shall we? The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. This electric trimmer features skin-safe technology guarding your V-Day treasure against any grooming mishaps. It also comes with their brightest LED spotlight yet. It's brighter than your best romantic smile. Perfect for precise grooming, even in the trickiest spots. Oh yeah, and it's waterproof as well, so that makes shower shaving an absolute breeze. But you know what? That's not everything the Love Doctor ordered. This package also features the Weed Whacker 2.0 nose hair trimmer, Manscaped's liquid formulations, and 2 free goodies, the Shed Travel Bag and the Boxers 2.0, because comfort is king for all my dogs. And for a happy ending, there's the Manscaped Refined Cologne. It's the Valentine's Day touch to your grooming routine. Elevate your grooming routine and set the stage for a romantically smooth celebration. And for all my bearded kings out there, Manscaped brings you the Beard Hedger Pro Kit, designed to shape your scruff effortlessly. It sculpts cheek lines and maintains beard styles, giving you that suave look for your romantic moments. Seamlessly handling even thicker beards, it's the perfect tool for a polished, date-ready appearance. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SHOW20. That's SHOW20 at manscaped.com. 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code SHOW20 because your grooming game upgrade awaits, ready to charm your Valentine's dates. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the FM show. Hope you're all well. Hope you're all having a fantastic time. As you've maybe heard, Aaron unfortunately is having a little bit of time off. Producer Steve is currently moving house, which means I've been left in charge, which is never the sentence you want to hear uttered by anybody. But welcome. I am, of course, your host, Tony Jameson, and I'm not going to be left alone to do all this. I have recruited a co-host for today's episode. So everybody, please welcome McKinsFM. McKins, how are you, pal?
Hello, I'm good. I'm excited to do this. I'm no Aaron, though, but I'm going to try my best. I've just had a 3-hour nap, in preparation for this, so looking a bit tired, but I'm excited. I'm ready. Going to be fun.
Mate, I love the fact you've taken this seriously. I need to relax for this. I need to get myself in the zone.
Absolutely. Had a KFC, which is a standard thing for me, really. Had a bit of a nap. Hollyoaks was on, wasn't paying attention, really, and now I'm refreshed. I'm here for hours. As long as you want me, Tony.
Oh, strap yourselves in, everyone. This is going to be a big episode. So, but yeah, no, it's great to get you in. Obviously, we've spoken before. In fact, we've spoken quite a bit actually during our time as creators. We'll get into all that sort of when you got into it, what your vibe is, what you do as well, because obviously there's only a few of us that do this as a full-time thing. I'm not one of those people, but there are a few people. So of course, you've got a real world life as well to talk about. But coming into this then, we will of course mention, first of all, you got a Southend shirt on you, McKinsey.
I do.
Now, I know you're not a Southend fan. You're a fan of another football club, aren't you?
Yes, so Swindon. A lot of doom and gloom with Swindon. Needed a bit of a break from Swindon. There's Southend are going through some times at the moment. I think it's pretty documented, isn't it, that they're monetarily, if that's a word, financially, not having the best time. They only have managed to have a couple of subs out on the bench for a lot of games this season. They've only just had their transfer embargo lifted, so they've been taken over now. They can sign some players, but they couldn't do that for a long time before. It was a real situation, and the whole club kind of just pulled together. They only had 30 professional players for a while, managed to stay fit, managed to, get up to mid-table in the Vanarama National after their points deduction as well. So they had so much to contend with, and I thought it might be quite an interesting save to do on Twitch. So, got my shirt on. It's a 4XL, which is like shocking for me because I was always a medium. I was a medium men's for years, and this was the only one they had left, and I thought it won't be that big, surely. I'll just survive. And it actually fits me quite well. So that's the concerning part for me. Too many KFCs. Now I'm not a 4XL, but it fits too well, I think. Too well.
Again, looking at you down the lens now, I would never have presumed, McKins's a 4XL, but I'm with you on this sizing issue, though, I must admit. And there'll be various listeners and viewers watching us going, I've heard of this problem as well. Because what happened for me was I was a medium until I hit 40. And now I'm a large who's in denial that the large doesn't actually fit either.
Yeah, it happens. Like, I think generally football shirts are just like, you're the expert on football shirts and I'm not, but they always tend to be, smaller than you'd hope they'd be. So I now always go a size up, but never 4 sizes up.
No, and they've started with these player issue shirts as well now, which, to be fair, why not just have a universal size? Why not just make medium a medium, large a large, extra large and extra large? Don't go, it's large if you're a footballer, which means it's a small. Come on.
Yeah, and it's a company thing as well, isn't it? Like, I'm a big fan of M&S. I've always shopped at M&S. Other companies are available, of course, but I'm an M&S fan, and I've always gone with their sizes. So, like, if I shop there, whatever that says on the label, I know that's true. But for any other store or any other company, you never know. And I've always wary of like buying things online. My mum always used to say to me, like, if you're going to buy shoes or buy clothes, you go to a shop and you try it on first. And I was always like, no, Mum, that's not how the world works anymore. You order things online. If it goes wrong, you send it back. And that's a very modern view on things, I know. But
yeah, and you know what? I'm with you because we'll have younger viewers and listeners. First of all, going, what's M&S, right? So we'll have to always explain that it is the benchmark of high street. I believe, to be honest, it's fair to say it's a brand mark for quality. I'd say Marks and Spencers. And you're right. There'll be people going, what, you physically go into a shop and try these clothes on? What? No, surely not. Surely, as you say, you order it, and if it comes within a few minutes, because that's the way we're conditioned to believe that life works these days, it doesn't work. We throw it back to the driver, and they bring another one the next day. Oh, God, I tell you, the world's gone mad, McKinsey. It really has.
Look, the world is obese now for a reason. 4XL. It happens. It happens to all of us.
Oh, and it'll happen to you too. I feel that Homer Simpson meme. And it is like, I used to be with it, but then they changed with what it was. It'll happen, and sadly,
it's really bad considering like I'm a PE teacher by trade, so for so many reasons this is bad. I fear for the planet.
I love it. That's the ringing endorsement right at the end going, and as a PE teacher, I don't really understand how this has happened.
I've mentioned 4XL, KFC. We're only like 6 minutes in. It's a great start. Eat healthy, guys. Exercise. It's January. Come on, New Year's resolution. Stick to them.
Oh, mate, January, you've got to start getting all that done. Absolutely, absolutely. New year, new me. It turns out, new year, same me, but slightly larger.
Yeah, same old mate, and it'll always be the same. Mm-hmm. Don't kid yourself. Come on.
Love who you are. Love who you are.
Yeah. Got to love yourself, haven't you?
Exactly. So we're mentioning Swindon. I've already bypassed the main reason that as soon as when we first got speaking, and then you were like, I'm a Swindon fan. I was like, all I had in my head, and I'm sorry, you probably get it nowadays. And again, it's a very new thing. All I had was a whole bunch of Ricky Gervais quotes in my head from The Office. A blooming Swindon lot, the Swindon lot, the slugs of Swindon. And I've gigged in Swindon, and I opened the show in the same way, and they weren't happy about that. So.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting place. We're never talked about in a very positive light in Swindon. I mean, we're known for the Magic Roundabout. That's like the most famous roundabout in the whole world, apparently. It's just a very big roundabout. It's nothing that spectacular. It's not spectacular at all.
It is. It's massive. Don't undersell it. Like, I genuinely, because I did a show at, is it the Victoria? The Victoria Theatre, I think it is in Swindon.
We've got the Wyvern Theatre, and we've
got the Wyvern.
Yeah.
Sorry, Victoria Theatre is somewhere else. Yeah, I did the show at the Wyvern when I did the Football Manager Ruin My Life tour.
Yeah,
and I turned up, and all I knew about Swindon, of course, was Wernham Hog, which of course isn't real, right? And that's obviously Slough, but they have the rivalry with Swindon.
Yeah.
And I remember the season that we were in the Premier League, and I knew about the massive roundabout. And I was so happy when I saw the roundabout. I was like, hey, there's no wonder they talk about this. This is a cracking roundabout. Well done.
It is
well
a big
done.
roundabout. And the thing is, if you live in Swindon and you pass your driving test, they make you navigate the magic roundabout, which is the thing that everyone's really scared about. I don't drive, so I've not been through that yet. But yeah, that's what we're known for. And we're also known for being twinned with Florida, which is quite cool.
Really?
It's very random, I know. Of all the places, yeah, we are Swindon and Florida go hand in hand. So that's pretty cool. I'm trying to think of other cool things about this place.
I'm trying to work out how that works. Like, which way around has that been? Surely Swindon sent a brochure to Florida being like, hey, do you want to twin up? Rather than Florida going,
yeah,
Swindon? Swindon's free. Let's be twins with them.
Yeah, I'm not sure they sent us the email. Would you like to be twinned with us? I'm not sure it happened that way around.
See, because where I'm from, so I'm originally from a place called Washington up in the northeast, right? Now, our town gave our name to Washington, D.C., of course, because George Washington's ancestry home was in that town. So all of the places around where I'm from have what are now deemed American names. So there's a place called Philadelphia close by where my parents stay in that. So again, all those names went over to America. And now I'm thinking, I wonder if there's a Swindon in America. That'd be brilliant. I'd love that.
Well, I know there definitely is in Australia. There's a few Swindons around the place. I'm not sure about America. The listeners will have to go and find out for me. Is there a Swindon in America? I don't know.
Comment below if you're from Swindon, presumably Swindon, Ohio, I'd imagine.
Yeah, we're known for the Magic Roundabout, twin with Florida, not a great football team. Dupe's from Swindon, so,
Yeah.
Still never met Dupe, though. I feel like we've passed each other a lot in the past, but never actually, never interacted. I like Dupe. I hope he's listening to this.
I do as well, and he was on the Christmas special as well, and that was a lot of fun, and he will come on the show as well to do some more episodes. Because it's funny you should mention that there as well. Like, Dupe's one of those people. So for those people who maybe don't know, Dupe is one of the hosts of the 5-Star Potential podcast, which is another fantastic podcast. So go and make sure you listen to that wherever you get your podcasts from. He's also a streamer, and I went on before I'd even began all this. Football Manager creation stuff. I went on as a guest to 5-Star, and I was talking to him after the show, and I'd started doing FMT podcast, and I started doing little bits of YouTube videos because I thought that's kind of what I could do, because I didn't have a setup to do any streaming or anything like that. And we did this episode. We chatted away afterwards, and he was like, "So what are you messing about with YouTube for?" He goes, "Like you're a streamer. Like, your personality, what you've got, that's going to suit you better than trying to cut this down into these sort of 20-minute at the time videos or 15-minute videos." So it's try and look to that and be that as the sort of the thing to aim towards. And it turns out he's right. So apologies to anyone who now watches me on stream. That's Dupe's fault. But I feel as though yourself and myself, our paths have crossed in a similar way. And again, we spoke just before we started the camera that you're of the same mind, that if you were to put a label on yourself, you're a football manager streamer first, and then you're now starting to branch out into other areas.
100%. I think we started streaming around about the same time, didn't we? I think you're a couple of months after me, but we started at pretty much the same time. Everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses, haven't they? I do enjoy content creation. I feel like I try and do a little bit of everything, but my main strength would be I am a streamer. That's how I started. When I did start, I didn't have any intention of doing TikTok or YouTube. It was just, I'm going to do this for fun and we'll see what happens. It was never the plan to become anything special, or I didn't expect it to do it for a long time at all. I thought I'll come and do it for a week because it was in the summer. I had some stuff to set up my PC with. I'll give it a go. It'll take my mind off some things a little bit and we'll just see what happens. And then people started to watch and I was like, if I can get one person in the chat, that would be great. And I'll play my game and it'll be fantastic. And then a couple of more people came in and I was like, oh, I'm enjoying this. The nerves have gone, because I was so nervous when I started. I knew it was something that I wanted to try. But I was sitting here thinking, I've gone bright red. I don't know what to say. There's no one in the chat. I don't know what to do. So I just kept talking and talking. And then eventually the nerves kind of go away, don't they? And I feel like as a teacher, I'm kind of used to standing up in front of other people and not being entertaining, but I kind of have to be an actor to do my in real life job. Because when you've got a class of 10-year-olds in front of you and you just stand there and you're boring, they're not going to listen to you. So you kind of have to crank it up a bit. So that was something that I was used to doing anyway, because I would feel like Lee as a person and McKinn's are very, very similar, except McKinn's is like 5% on top of my usual personality. And it's not being fake. It's just I'm producing content to my maximum entertainment levels, right? And that's why we do it. We're doing it to be entertaining. That's kind of the point. And I feel like there are some FM streamers that don't quite get that. They do it and think, what am I doing wrong? And sometimes it's not just you playing a game. Like, people don't watch for the game, really. They watch for you as a person. So it's how you can work on you as a person. And I think that's the part of this that I'm really good at. But there's the part where you need to make videos, and that's the part that I'm learning, and I'm starting to get there. But as a streamer, I feel like that's where my niche is. That's my strength.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of similarities in our journeys, really, from what you mentioned there. So you're right. We sort of both got into streaming around at the same time. So cast your minds back, listeners and viewers. We're probably about a year or so removed from the start of the pandemic, aren't we? There was the early adopters were on Twitch straight away. Twitch blew up at the time because obviously nobody could go anywhere. YouTube blew up because no one could go anywhere. Podcasts were kind of becoming, I suppose, really a little bit less popular because no one was traveling. So people weren't sitting and listening to podcasts. So they became more visual forms. We then sort of managed to get our bit of time. I bought a PC. I didn't have a PC at the time. So eventually bought that. So we were about a year behind the sort of the big boom, I suppose, really. And you've come in almost the same as how I did, with this experience of talking in front of people. And it's something that we're going to probably touch upon a bit more, but you're right, saying to people who come in and going, oh, why is it not working? Why is it not working? That whole thing of being on stream, and I say this to anyone who will listen or whoever wants advice, right? You know, I say that on a YouTube video, and it's funny you should mention about dialing yourself up to 5%, because I think you're right. I think we all do that. I think even on this podcast, like specifically when I'm on stage doing stand-up, I'm not Tony. I'm Tony the comedian, and I used to be Tony Jameson the comedian, and that was an even bigger person. Now I'm able to be myself, but again, I'm dialed up a little bit. On the podcast, I'm dialed up a little bit. On stream, I'm dialed up a little bit. On YouTube, you can play a character or a role for 20 minutes on a YouTube video, and you can be high energy, or you can be, dour, or however you want to be. But if you're on stream for 3 hours, you can't hold that persona for 3 hours. That face, that mask will slip eventually. And all you have to be, and this is going to sound so counterproductive to a lot of people, all you have to be is yourself. And I know we're saying about dialing yourself up 5%, but it's if you can get that main part of yourself coming through, people buy into it. Like I've found, joking on with my chat now, we often say that Football Manager gets in the way of me talking for 3 hours. Like, we're not really here for watch you play Football Manager, Tony. We know you're not very good at it, but we're quite entertained by what you do for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And I think that there's definitely, and see what you think about this, I think there's two ways of content creators that you can be. You can either be an educator, like Aaron, for example. Aaron, the tactics expert. You will learn something watching Aaron's videos. You will learn something watching Aaron's stream. Or you can be entertaining. And I'm like, I think I'll just take the entertaining bit. Thank you, because I can do that bit.
Nothing watching me. You will learn nothing.
Yeah, if you learn, it's literally by accident.
Yeah. Oh, McKinn's, how did you do that? I don't know. I didn't do it on purpose. It came off.
Let's dial it back and watch it together, and we'll see what happened.
Yeah. I think it's the biggest pill to swallow, isn't it, for some people, when they realise it's not quite working for them. What's going wrong? Nothing's going wrong. It's just you don't really have the personality to be really, really good at it. And sometimes that's just life. Maybe you're more suited to making videos on YouTube, or maybe you can still be in the same community but do something slightly different. Blogging's another one. Yeah, when I first was invited to go on to the showdown by Ben, he brought myself and Sai Maggio on at the same time because he'd watched my stream and he was like, I don't want you as a panelist. I want you as a streamer because that is your strength. But to Sai Maggio, he was like, look, you're really good at doing this commentary. You're going to be on the lowdown. So I feel like certain people are more suited to certain roles.
Absolutely. And I think that there's definitely a space for everybody. And what we would probably say, without putting words in your mouth, I'm guessing, is you said there you were amazed at those people in the chat in that first few streams. Like I've sort of come at this from a slightly different angle, but I agree in the same sense. Like I came into that sort of space with a bit of a following from the stand-up show, not massive, but enough to get by that I wasn't. When I clicked go live, there wasn't just one person there. I was a bit fortunate, maybe 10 or something, which gave me something to play around with. So I had that, which is fine. I was used to talking in front of people because, again, I'm formerly a lecturer, formerly a stand-up comedian, and I found it easier in that moment because people kept saying, "Oh, how do you perform? How do you perform?" I'm like, look, I've done gigs in front of 2 people before. I've done gigs in front of 500 people before.
Yeah,
right. It's harder to do a gig in front of 2 people, but if you can do it for an hour, then hey, you know what? You're probably going to be fine in front of 500, right? And also, you can't see how many people's in front of you because in my room right now is me and a computer screen, right? All I'm going to do is just keep talking and make it look like I'm talking to 500 people because when someone passes by, it might be one person might just click on that stream and go, I'm going to see what this guy's about. Click on there. If you're looking like you're having a great time, hey, you know what? They're going to have a great time. They're going to be invested. But if I'm just sat here going, oh, I don't know what I want to do now, and I'm just scrolling, just clicking, and I'm silent, then where's the buy-in for the audience?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest pieces of advice, isn't it, that we would give. You have to pretend to stream to hundreds of people. Whether there's one person there, 10 people, 100 people there, you should be the same. The way you act should be the same. And I feel like one of the reasons I came into this was because I was watching a bit of Twitch before I started to stream myself. And I came across some FM streamers and I was like, I don't think these are very good. They're just sitting here, they're playing a game, they're not really acting up to an audience. And they've got 100 followers. If they can get 100 followers, I could do a better job than this. And so I came in and gave it a go. But yeah, you need to almost forget how many people are watching and just, like you said earlier on, be yourself, be your entertaining self. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I think luck is just a massive part of it. Like you said, I think we came into it slightly later than a lot of other people because there was the pandemic and I started in the August. It was August 2020. So the world was just starting to open up again, which was a bit of a silly time for me to start, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
If it started a couple of months ago, then it might have been even more successful. But yeah, I think you need to get the luck as well. Luck is a big part in managing to be good at something like this. You watch accounts blow up, and normally it's because they have a video or something that does really well, and they just build upon that success.
But I guess obviously in counteraction to that, that's not a word, is it? To sort of to go against that, you also then see people who have one video in any industry. They can have one video that goes viral, one tweet that goes viral, but they don't build on that audience because what they do next, they either don't know how they did that in the first place. So it's just a bit of oh wow, we caught the algorithm perfectly. We've blown up a video, and it's right, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And I think I always try and talk luck out of it. And I don't know whether that's just the way that my brain works and how I've sort of tried to compartmentalize it, because obviously I had to do that with the stand-up tour. I always used to say, hey, this is luck, this is luck, this is luck. And I had loads of people telling me, well, it's not luck. You've got a 2-hour show about Football Manager that people wanted to watch. Where's the luck in that? No one else has a 2-hour show about Football Manager. You've clearly worked hard at it to get it. What you've done is you've managed to get that opportunity, and you've then been able to progress it. And I think so. I'm now, and it's taken a long time for me to accept that luck is basically built when preparation meets opportunity, and it's you've got to be there to sort of be able to build off the back of it. You get that success of right, here's a great video. You might well get say 500 followers or whatever off the back of it. Those 500 followers will only stay if the next one's decent as well, and the one after that's decent. And the same with a stream. We've both had great streams where we've had loads of people in the stream, and you go, that was a great stream.
Yeah.
But weirdly, the next one might be a great stream, and you've had 30 in there. And you're like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Like, you've got, 5,000 followers or whatever. You've got 50 people, 70 people in the chat. Always work on your 1%, so your 5% of what you've got. And then you round sort of there or thereabouts. But yeah, you've got more chance of getting something if you've got a bigger follower network. But it's about that engagement, and it's the value of those people coming back and being in it.
It's very difficult to not become frustrated for so many reasons. Obviously, we're all people that want to progress and become better people, better streamers, better content creators. And sometimes you'll just have a stream where there isn't a lot of people there, and that's nobody's fault. It might just be a bit quiet that day. And it's really hard to not take that to heart. It's so hard to set yourself goals and say, I want this amount of followers, or I want to get this amount of people in the stream, because you can't affect that at all. All you can do is work on yourself. And if you think about where, like, for example, where we've come from to what we're doing now, even though I'm sometimes very frustrated that, like, I'm not taking the next step or whatever, to go from nothing at all, because I made the mistake of not telling anyone I was going to do it. I came into my first ever stream and I clicked go live. Nobody knew about it. Didn't tell my family, my friends. It was completely fresh. And that story is very different to some other people that started around the same time as us that would have said, oh, I spoke to this person, I spoke to that person. So people knew they were doing it, which gave them a bit of a head start. But yeah, going from, like I said, having nobody there to now having even 30 or 40, which to me now would be like a smaller stream, that's still crazy. Like, when you take a moment to reflect and step back and think, there's like 30 or 40 people that are watching me, like a random person play a game on the internet, that's crazy. And so you need to be like really appreciative of all of that, even though it's hard, because we always get frustrated because we want to be better.
And I think you're right. Like, when you start to think there, 30 or 40 people are watching, imagine 30 or 40 people in a room and you're there.
Yeah,
like
I wouldn't be able to deal with that.
That's a show.
It's strange because as a teacher, I'm in front of 30 children all day, every day, and I'm literally fine with that. I can sit in front of my PC here and be in front of 1,000 people, and I would be literally fine. If it's adults physically in a room, I can't deal with that. And that's probably where I could speak to you and come for some advice, because that's what you do for your job. If I have to lead a staff meeting in front of 20 adults, it's my worst nightmare. I hate it. I crumble. I sweat. I can't speak. It's weird how I can do this so confidently, but not that. Weird. I know you're supposed to like envisage everyone naked, but like, I know that's a tip, right? But
yeah, it can be. But I think it's like, it's just those transferable skills, isn't it? Like, what will happen is in the future. Now you're saying there, if you have like a team meeting of 20 people to do, you might go into McKinsFM mode for like the first 5 minutes, the first 10 minutes, maybe, just to get you comfortable in that environment, because you've now drawing on that experience of what you do in your outside of work time, where you're like, all right, okay, this is quite a large thing. Well, I'll tell you what, I personally can't do this meeting, but I know a guy who can. And you know what I mean? Then you go back into character, and the more you do that, the more you get used to it. Like, and you say there about, not telling people that you were going to start streaming. Obviously, I'd mentioned it to some people that I was going to start doing it. Similar to starting stand-up, I mentioned it to people that I was going to do stand-up, so people came to watch my first show. Should I have done it a different way around? Should I have just sort of like gone up and done my first 5 minutes without mentioning it to someone? Maybe I should have. Maybe I got a false sense of what I was after one gig. I've gone, right, that 5 minutes works well. Well, yeah, it can work well, because the people who were there got what I was saying and they thought was funny. Could have gone completely the other way around. Could have been like, hey, here's 5 minutes of stand-up, and all my mates are going like, why have you brought us to see this? This is dreadful. Like, would I have done it again? I don't know.
Yeah.
So there is that thing of, I guess, like a bit like everything, this is the best place to learn on the job, really. Like, you can read the manual, you can read the book, you can watch the training video, you can tick the health and safety form, but until you're on the shop floor, there's no, you can't replicate that experience, really.
No, of course. And we were saying before, weren't we, like, this is our hobby and you have to enjoy it. It's the kind of thing that you have to come into, and if you don't enjoy doing it, it's never going to work. You can't come in and grind out the videos if you're not really passionate about it. Like, this isn't our job, and so if we don't enjoy it, we shouldn't be doing it. And actually, we were saying before, we love doing this. This is what we choose to spend our time doing. We could be doing anything right now with our own time, but this is what we do. And you have to enjoy it. And I think when the moment comes where I'm not enjoying it anymore, I won't be doing it anymore. And I'm hoping that time doesn't come anytime soon, because I'm obsessed with Football Manager. I always have been. And actually, streaming hasn't at all taken away that love. If anything, it's made it even stronger.
I think for me, it's gave me a different appreciation of the game now, because I don't know about yourself, but I don't play the game outside of this environment now. Like, I don't play outside of the podcast and outside of streaming. 10 years ago, you couldn't get me off this game. Now I'm like, you know what? I do my days that I stream. And that's all I play this game. I'm not.
Yeah.
I haven't got an offline save. Like, I'm not practicing tactics or whatever. I'm just literally like, when I press go live, that's when I play Football Manager. After that, no more.
Yeah, no, I do the same thing. And I think because I really get into it with my stream saves and with the people watching, I don't think I would enjoy it as much now if I was just doing it on my own. I'm not the kind of person that would go and practice tactics and stuff. I'm not that kind of FM player. I don't really look at that stuff. I know Aaron's massive on that, and he makes videos on that, and that's his thing. But as I was saying earlier, everyone has their own strengths. I don't personally care. I don't care about tactics. I'm like a plug and play guy. I care about picking the team, signing the players. I'm a believer, and this might be a wild theory, right? This might be something that I get shouted at, but I don't believe tweaking tactics makes any difference. I think the game, and people will come on and tell me that I'm wrong here, but I think the game knows the score before you've even played it. So therefore, whatever you do is not going to impact what's going to happen is going to happen. Aaron's going to come on and shout at me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But no, I'm exaggerating a little bit there, really. I know, like, if you put all your players up front, you're going to concede. I get that.
Yeah.
But many little tweaks throughout a game, it frustrates me because I just don't think it makes that much difference. That's my opinion.
I love that. I in my head, I can already see the angry comments. Just like, what is it all about? Of course, it makes a difference. Blah blah blah. I completely get the sentiment of where you're coming from, because I'm not one like so. Whenever, so I'm going to go with you for a second, then I'm going to come back and maybe try and counter argument at the same time. Okay, like, I get a load of people coming in and asking questions like, if, for example, I've got a tactic. So at the minute, I'm in Greece. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about our save. We're in Greece. Yeah. So we're in a Build a Nation. I'm at Larissa. We've come through from the second division. We're into the first division now, and we're in season 6. Okay, so long term there, we're doing pretty decent. I had a 4-4-2 in the first season. I had a 4-3-3 in the second season, and a bit of a dip in the sort of the mid season. At the end of season 5, which sort of cost us ultimately for the European spots. And I was looking at it going like, there's something here. And it's just, I was like, right, I'll switch a couple of roles rather than changing the shape and everything completely. I was like, maybe I'm just a couple of roles. Maybe I've got the wrong personnel doing the wrong things.
Yeah.
So changed that up, and everything sort of like fit itself fine. We won the last 5 games of the season in a row. Like, I was like, all right, got into season 6. We're unbeaten after 8 games. Like, we're second. I'm like, yeah, it was rolls. Right? I have people asking me going, what individual instructions have you got? None. Like, because what I do is I tell that player, you're doing that job, and just he does that job. Like, I'm not telling him to do that job and other things. He's a footballer. He can't remember too many things. Come on. Yeah. So I'm like yourself there.
See, here's the thing that annoys me, right? Everyone can play Football Manager the way they want to play it. I'm not telling anyone how to play the game. It's a game, you do what you want, right? That's what you do. It annoys me when people will come to you and say, can I have your tactic? Because for me, that's the best part of the game. You play Football Manager because you get to design your own tactic with your own players. That's the best part, and that's the point of it. Yeah. This is my point of view. I don't understand why people will go onto the game and then download other people's tactics just to try and win. It's a bit like getting FIFA, EA Sports, and saying to your big brother, here's the controller, go and win some matches for me, and I'll take the glory because it's on my account. Well, But you wouldn't do that because the fun is you win or you lose with whatever you do. So, and I understand why, like, content creators will make videos on this because everyone is so interested in tactics, and I get that. Mm-hmm. But why would you not want to come up with your own one? Like, that's the fun part.
I mean, the bit you say there about handing the controller over, I have to do that with my 4-year-old. Like when he's on Mario Party, he doesn't know which one to do. Daddy, you do that, and I do it, and he's like, "I've got a star," and I'm like, "Yeah, I've got a star." Like you haven't got a star.
There's a difference. He's 4 though. That's the difference.
Yeah, like we have this discussion about, and it's particularly in the content creator world. I know we've got listeners who, because obviously with this show, we have to try and appeal to a wide audience. So we've got people who are, they'll play 3 seasons as Real Madrid or Liverpool, and then that'll be their one save, and that's them done for the game for a year.
Yeah.
We've also got people who do 50 seasons in Indonesia. Like, so we've got to kind of like cover both bays and everything else in between. Obviously, Aaron has the tactics side covered. He is part of this world where he'll put a tactics video out. He's even said himself, he knows he gets people when he watches the video, they just jump straight to the tactic. They don't read or listen to the bit where he's explaining what the tactic does, how you get the best out of it, the sorts of players you need to make this tactic work. And I think that's the bit that maybe we just see slightly differently to others. And we look at it and go, right, I've got a 4-3-3, okay? And it works, but it works for my team because I've recruited the players specifically for those specific roles.
Yeah.
Or I know how that league works. So that 4-3-3 in Greece is not the same 4-3-3 I'm going to play in the Championship in England. It's not the same 4-3-3 I'm going to play in the Premier League, in Scotland, like in anywhere, like MLS. Like I could play a 4-3-3 variation all over the place, but the roles going to be different. The team is going to play slightly differently. I had an absolute belter, and it was the closest I came, McKins, to making a tactic video last year, right? And I even text Aaron going, "I'm making a tactics video," and he's like, "Get in." And it was part of my British Steel Challenge. I went to Celtic. Okay, now I know Celtic, like you should be able to win SPL pretty comfortably with Celtic, right? It shouldn't be difficult. But I went in and I had 3 centre backs. I had a left wing back, no right back, interestingly. Okay. And I had 5 midfielders and I had 2 good strikers. And I was like, right, well, I've got no right back. Like, do I go and look for a right back? All these 3 centre backs look pretty handy.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I'd thought, I'm going to build a 3 at the back system. And it's going to be 3 centre backs with a wide centre back running to double up with my wing back, essentially. And I turned them into a defensive winger. And I had a complete forward and a volante. And like, long story short, we smashed the living daylights out of every single team that came next to us. We won the SPL, obviously. We won the Scottish Cup. We won the Euro League. We won everything like, in one season. It was just dominant. Like any match we lost about 5 in the league. It was only with an away performance where we lost. But that tactic was honestly, with that group of players, like you could have put that out on YouTube and you would have been like, this tactic wins you the quadruple. It would have banged. I'd have had so many views, so many downloads on it. But then I'd have had so many people going, but it doesn't work with Brentford, or but I tried to use it, in South Africa and it hasn't worked. Like, of course, because the types of players I have relied, like the tactic relied on those types of players to work. I even used it later on in that save, and it didn't work as well. I used it in FM24 Atalanta. I had to tweak so much to get it half decent, but the thought process was there. But of course, it's not going to be a straightforward plug and play.
No, and this is what some people just don't get, really, because I have the same thing, but I've tried your tactic, but it didn't work. Well, no, because it's a completely different situation. I'm like, at the moment with Southend, I've got this like extravagant 3 at the back, no full back, no wing back thing going on. And it's working for me at the moment, but it's not going to work for everybody. And that's just the nature of it.
I think you see it as well with real life managers, like managers who leave one club and they come to a new club playing that same system and same philosophy that they've had at the previous club. Yeah. And everyone's going, oh, that system doesn't work. The system doesn't work. Yeah, different players, different setup, trying to do the same thing. It just doesn't happen.
The biggest example right now is Ten Hag at Man United, in my opinion. Exactly. He came over and everyone was like, oh, he's got a philosophy. We're going to do this philosophy. I'm going to be honest. I'm not seeing any philosophy at Man United at the moment. Like, I don't think anyone can look at them and think, oh, there's a clear plan here. I'm not really sure the players know what they're doing. So actually, where is this Ten Hag philosophy? It might work at Ajax, like in a different country, but you come over to England, different ball game completely, isn't it? Or same ball game, but different ball game. You know what I mean?
Hello, everyone. Just a very quick one while this episode's on to talk to you about Patreon. Now, say, for example, you're listening or watching this show and thinking, hey, I could do with an extra little bit more FM show in my life. Well, good news for you, my friends, because from as little as £3 a month, you can support the podcast via Patreon, and in return, we will give you an extra exclusive episode every single Monday. That's right, an extra exclusive episode every single Monday via Patreon. It might be a FM chat, it might be me talking to someone else in the FM space, maybe a larger, wider community, who knows. Plus, you're also going to get early access to the weekly free public episodes, and there will always be a free weekly public episode, by the way, so don't worry about that. If you can't afford to support via Patreon, there will always be free content. And if you can't afford to support Patreon, then please do consider subscribing to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from, like the video if you're enjoying it, leave some comments on YouTube, follow us on all the social media, come and join the Discord, come and hang out with us over there. Join the community, be part of what we're trying to grow here, because obviously the more we interact with you, the more we can start to really focus the content on what it is you actually want us to start producing. So if you're interested in some bonus stuff, come and visit us, patreon.com/the FM Show Pod, or alternatively, or at the very least, consider subscribing to all the channels and all the social medias. Drop us a like, leave us a comment. Back to the episode. Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's a question that I've asked a few people before, is when you go into a club, do you have a philosophy before you go in? Like if I was to say to you, describe McKinn's ball. if you go into Southend on day one, do you go, right, here's my players, right, okay, let's work out what they can do? Or do you go in with, right, McKinn's ball is this, okay, what I've got here can't play McKinn's ball, we'll play McKinn's ball version 2. Like, can you describe McKinn's ball to us?
Oh, McKinn's ball has lots of variations to it. I feel like a position that I really dislike on FM is fullbacks, because I always feel like their ratings are just slightly lower than the others. And I think if they get an assist or they get a goal, it'll be fine. But if they don't, it's always like just below par. And that's just me. Maybe that's my tactics, but I just can't really get them to work.
6-7 brigade, aren't they?
Yeah. So I try and play without them. So, which is why I'm trying to play a 3 at the back at the moment with Southend, just to see if I can get something to work without them. So the first thing I would do is I would have a look at the squad, and I'd try to work out who the best players are and what tactic and what formation would make sense at the time, which I think is pretty standard like that. I think most people would go down that route, and then it will be adapted over time, because the way that I play the game is I like to sign, and again, this is probably a way that lots of people play the game, sign the players young, sell them on for profit. I will very rarely sign players over like 26 years old, just because that's how I like to play the game. I run my clubs like a business.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like business manager for me. So the finances will always be at the forefront of everything. I might have 5 million sitting in the bank, but if I can get away with not spending that, I will try and get away with it. And it's all about getting the players in young for cheap, selling them on for profit in the future, and then finding a tactic that works, because I think it's a relatively new thing in FM, isn't it? That the AI started to work out what you do, and so they will adapt over time to try and suit you. So I feel like it happens quite regularly now, where you'd have a tactic that works really well for a year and then suddenly not as well. So you have to start tweaking it because they've worked out what you're going to do. So it starts to develop and change over time. I went through a phase of hating wingers. Didn't use them at all. I think anyone who plays on the flanks, just for me, not working on Football Manager, just like a box down the middle, is perfect. So but I'm now, I think this year wingers are back in. This is my opinion. I think wingers are working a lot better. I target forwards. it's a pretty common thing now, right? Big meaty men up front, win the headers. I think that's still the same this year. Maybe not as much as last year, but it's still a thing this year. So I will generally always make sure my striker is nice and big, good jumping reach, and that's I think that's McKinn's ball.
I like the sound of that. And what you've mentioned there, you mentioned some things that I like. Obviously, you mentioned a big, strong striker. I'm a big fan of a big, strong striker. I think that you are. So what you're saying there, and how I've interpreted that is, you're looking at how McKinn's ball works as a video game, which is what I've picked up on there, and that's the interesting thing, because I think so. Whenever I think of TJ ball, okay, I think of TJ ball as, we play compact, we can sit deep, we can absorb pressure if we need to. We want to be fast in transitions. We want to get the ball back out as quick as we can. I'd love to play out from the back if we can do, but sometimes, needs must. You just got to get the ball out. I'm old school. I like a winger. Like, I like players getting chalk on their boots outside. If you want to whip a crossing, fine, whip a crossing. If you want to play the ball nice and intricate to work the ball in the box, do that. Up top, you've got a bit of creative license to do what you need to do. I like pace. I like a bit of power. I love a midfielder who doesn't mind doing a burst and run late into the box. And I think, for me, jump and reach, I think I go down the DNA route of I insist on my players. They have to have teamwork. They have to have work rate. They have to have physically fitness. So natural fitness or stamina has got to be pretty high, and determination. So I say they've got to have those 4 attributes, or they don't get in my team at all. So I play for that as if that was my team. And I sort of ignore the fact that it's a video game, because I know that there's loads of meta positions and meta tactics. And again, that's maybe part of being on stream and joking with my audience, to be like, Tony, you could make this so much easier for yourself by just doing what works as a video game, right? And I'm like, I could, but where's the fun in that? That's my philosophy. We will recruit towards it. Naturally, we'll play with what we've got in front of us, but if I can get that working, that'll be perfect. That's my dream.
Yeah, I feel like the players that I go for, there are certain tactics that I would focus on. So for centre-backs, for example, on the mental attributes, there's a group at the top, isn't there? That's really important for defenders. There's concentration. What are the other ones? There's aggression, like really important for defenders.
Anticipation, I like as well.
Yeah. So they kind of have to be there. Really, if there's a gap there, no matter how good the player is, it annoys me to the point where I know if there's a player in my team that has a gap and they make a mistake, I would just blame myself for that and say, look, that's because he's only got 8 for this attribute, when if he had 12, he might not have done that. I think what you just said about playing the game as a video game, I've never really thought of that before. It's always about trying to like beat the system, isn't it? In the way that you're saying you don't do, but a lot of people do. It's right. We know what works on this game, and this is the way that we're trying to play. And I think what you're saying there is mostly true. I always play with a big striker, and I don't know if that's because of what I've heard from other people, and I don't know if that's what's worked for me in the past. But in my head, if you're a striker, you have to be big and strong, right? You have to be. That's just
especially if you're a lone striker as well. You've got to have a bit of physicality about you, because you want to be able to hold the ball up top. I love a pressing forward personally. I love them getting in the channels and making the runs that drag defenders out, which allow space for somebody else. And this is where I used to have conversation with people back and forth. I started the Larissa save with what looked like an asymmetric formation, and it wasn't really, because I could break it down into it was a 4-4-2. But explained as to why it looked the way that it looked. And there's a lot of people where if you just have the tactic and it's just all over the place, you're like, you're just gamifying this. And that's totally fine. That's totally fine. Like, you're putting a player in a position because that works in the game and it stops the opposition doing something. But I always looked at it as going, well, if I was playing real football, this is how I would expect my team to perform. So the positions might be slightly all over the place. And that's sort of what I was looking for. And I was going, well, if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And it's also a part of the entertainment value as well. And that's how I look at it. Like, I play it like that. But maybe there's times I should probably just play it like a game and go, Tony, you know what wins? Just do what wins.
Yeah. And I feel like there's there's myths. There's FM myths out there that people will always say. So, for example, you can't play two playmakers. Hold on, why not? Like, where is this come from? I play two playmakers, it works, and I'm winning games. Like, people come into my chat and say, why have you done this? You can't do this. That doesn't work. Hold on. This is my save. On your save, you can do what you want to do. But on my save, I'm doing this because this is the way that I want to play the game.
Yeah, there is a bit of that. And I know in previous versions, there used to be, if we go back to that phrase, the meta. I can't remember if it was FM22 or FM20. That was 20. I think it was 22, where the meta was to play double roles. So if you had three across the middle, you'd have a ball winning midfielder with double Mazzala either side, with double inverted wing backs on the outside. And it's like, no one plays that in real football, surely, do they? Like, that's school football. Just run around and catch the ball eventually if you can do. No bunching.
And things like CM attack. You have to have a CM attack, and your fullbacks this year have to be inverted. No, they don't. Like, I think as streamers, we have to make a decision of, are we doing this to be entertaining, or are we trying our absolute best to win? And actually, from my point of view, I'd care more about putting on a good stream. Like, I'm almost famous for bottling cup finals and the chat screaming at me saying, McKins's like, do something about this. Hold on, I'm sitting here vibing, having a great time. Like, if the stream goes well and it's been entertaining, don't care about what the results are like. But obviously that's very different to people who aren't streamers.
100%. It's all about creating those moments, isn't it? And what's better than the bottle job? Because the next season is the redemption arc. Surely that's the best way of playing it, in my view, and I think in your view as well. You mentioned there though about, and this sort of leads nicely in. It's something that Nelios Bombelios, which is a great name by the way, has put in our Discord, and he said here, "I just want to give Tony Tactics some credit. I was lurking in the stream the season before last. TJ was 3-1 down early in the match. First half an hour, 3-1 down. It wasn't going well. And he switched his 4-3-3 to a 4-2-4. Suddenly, his team were attacking like lions against the opposition, managed to turn the game around and either won 5-3 or 6-4. Can't remember the exact score. I was impressed by the look of the things and made a copy of the formation and team instructions for themselves to try out with their team, and it seemed to work pretty well." And I was like, yeah, you know what? I remember that, because I know you're saying there about the game's predetermined. And in a sense, maybe it is. If I'd have left things like that, then clearly nothing was going to work. But that was one of those moments where I was able to see what was happening. Obviously not quick enough to be 3-1 down, but I was like, right, this 4-3-3 isn't having it. They were playing narrow, I think. So I was like, I need to exploit the space out wide. So just chucked more men up front, and they couldn't deal with the second striker.
Yeah.
And, we just terrorised. Because I like the idea of the three in midfield to give a bit more solidity in the centre of the park. But it turned out, actually, take the DLP off and just get someone else up top. We'll get the balls out there. And, it's just, they had nothing. They had nothing.
But here's the thing, though. You will never know, because you said it 3-1, you changed it all. You will never know if you didn't change it, would you have still won that match? And I'm saying my theory is, I think you might have done. It's not like, it isn't necessarily always the tactics. So who knows? Who knows whether tactics have a massive impact? Only the makers of the game will know that.
And they'll never tell us.
And of course they won't. Of course they won't.
Because they're very much keeping the luck modifier to themselves, aren't they?
Absolutely. Which I believe is a thing, by the way. The whole thing of shutting the game down and turning it on again and then losing, it happens to so many of us. That must be a thing. Right? It must be.
I think so. There's people sat listening to this going, I've won 20 matches in a row, turned the computer off.
Yeah.
Opened it up, and I've been sacked 3 months later because I've not won.
And it's one of the most frustrating things about FM, the morale manager thing. It's the whole getting 20 greens in a row, then suddenly you get one draw, and then you lose 10 and can't get a win from anywhere. Like, I know they're trying to make it realistic to real life, and morale is a big thing in football, but like, it's so frustrating when that happens. So frustrating.
It's that moment when you're playing the game and you're watching it all unfold before your very eyes and unravel, and you're like going, I don't think it matters what I click here. This is just it's a tough day at the office today, everyone.
It happens, and you're like, I don't know what to do here. I'm going to sit through and play it, and yes, we're going to lose, but knowing FM the way we do, one result here, and then it's back to normal again. So just waiting for that game where you can get the win again, and then you're back on track.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you got any FM superstitions? Are you an FM superstition person?
I've got one or two.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say superstitions, but there's certainly things that I do to play the game. So, for
Hmm.
example, I am not interested. Again, I'm going to get shouted at here. I'm not interested in the slightest in training. I don't
Okay.
care. Um, I don't care. I don't think it has a big impact. And the main reason I'm saying that is because one of the things that I do when you enter superstitions is I will always rest the players after every game, no matter
Hmm.
what. I used to rest them every day. So if I had a game in 7 days, I'd rest them for 6 days. So they didn't train at all,
Hmm.
but I still won things. I won trophies, I won
Mm.
leagues. So my thought process was, well, training obviously doesn't matter that much. Now, I do know that it probably does have an impact, like behind the scenes and things. I get that. But I don't think it matters enough to focus all of your time on doing training schedules. Now, people are not going to like that, and people will say you're so wrong, McKins, because actually you play FM the way you want to play the game. It's a simulation. It's a storytelling game,
Hmm.
and if you want to dedicate your time to making training schedules and then winning games, so you can say, "Oh my god, my training schedules are great. Clearly, this works." That's fine. That's okay. But I always rest players after games because I just think fitness is one of the biggest things in winning games, and I don't care if they don't train. They just need to be fit enough to play. So
Mm.
that's one thing that I will always 100% do. Something I always do as well is, again, it's going back to trying to beat the game again. It's the patterns of the shouts in the matches. So, like, if I'm
Yes.
1-0 down, there's always something I will do every time to turn those little circles green again. And that's what you're looking for, right?
Hmm.
I'm always an encourager if we're not winning, and I'm
Yeah.
always a praiser if we're winning. And again, I know that might be like, is that fun? Like, is that the way you want to do it? But I feel like that works.
I'm with you on that. And I think we touched upon that on a previous episode, actually. We were talking about the touchline shouts. And like, I've noticed as well, and this is just me just thinking out this now, I don't ever really change my approach. Well, sorry, no, I do, like, but very, very rarely. Normally in my team talk, I'm like, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. Like, occasionally I'll do the whole pump fist thing, and then obviously every now and again I'll wave my arms, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to go kicking things or whatever, because when I kick things, I tend to get sacked. Like, and on the touchline, I'm very much I'm an encourager, I'm a demand more, or I'll do a berate. Praising, I don't know what it is, right? Whether there's some sort of deep-seated issue in me that praising doesn't seem to work, right?
Right.
I long for praise. I long for praise, but my players apparently aren't interested in my false sense of praise. Well, you've done a great job, and they're like, "You're being sarcastic, aren't you?" I'm like, "No, I'm not." So they switch off completely.
Yeah.
So the shouts thing, I understand, I completely get. What I used to do, and this is probably more so in the older versions of the game, less so now because I'm streaming, so I'm conscious of it, is, on the bottom where you have your ticker and
Hmm.
your commentary button,
Yeah.
commentary bar, sorry. I used to always insist on having my cursor in the 2/3 of the way through into my side of the screen, and it would just sit there all through the match. And it didn't matter whether I was home or away, it had to sit there, and it makes no difference whatsoever. But it had to be there, because if it wasn't there, then it would make all the difference in the world, which I know it didn't make.
Now, it's weird you say that because I thought I was weird. Now, hear me out, okay? I don't know what you'd call this, but
Hmm.
the reason why I'm looking down, like you see, I look down quite a lot. The reason I do that is because I've got my keyboard on
Hmm.
my keyboard mat here, and it has to be straight.
Oh yeah.
It has to be. If it's a bit wonky, I'm sitting here fiddling around trying to straighten it up again. And obviously, if you change angle, it looks wonky again, even though it's not wonky. So I'm moving and I'm trying to get my keyboard straight. I'm just so I don't know what that's called, but I can't function if that isn't a straight line across me. And that almost feels like what you're saying about having the cursor in the right place. If it's in the wrong place, something's going to go wrong.
I'm going to go more that's feng shui than superstition, but only because of the fact that if it's going to be that, then oh my god, I've got so many more things I need to look at.
But
Because
I've got my remotes here, they have to be nice and straight, and I have to my brain can only function if everything looks the way that it needs to look. And I'm mirroring that to what you're saying about the cursor. I could be wrong.
Mm. I mean, there's maybe something in it. I mean, I'm not. I'm looking around my desk at the minute and going, "Oh my god, there is this is not a safe workspace at the minute." But it was very much that thing, and for some reason, like especially if I had it on the laptop, I used to sit and it used to have to be there. That cursor had to be there, but on stream now, like I don't know if you can. I don't even know if you can see a cursor. You probably can, but I was like, I can't just have it just rest there because everyone's going to pick up on it and be like, why is his cursor always there? Like, why does he insist on having that one?
Yeah.
Does he know? Like, or is it just like a resting moment? Or my other one, if I'm making a YouTube video, okay, is the cursor has to be behind where my camera is. Because I can't leave it just lying out, otherwise it just looks weird and it annoys me.
Yeah. And on that subject as well, on like the panels on FM, if your cursor's on the panel, a little pop-up comes up, doesn't it, to explain like what it is. Oh, I can't have that be hanging around. Like I'm fiddling around making sure there's no like pop-ups when I'm going live, because I don't know why, but in my head, that's so unprofessional to do. And it's not. That's ridiculous. What a ridiculous thing to say. My cursor's in the wrong place. But no, I get it. 100%. I thought I was weird.
That's the thing. I don't want to be making like a great sort of end of video speech about like how I'm happy with how the players have gone. I'm ready for next year, and this is my plan. And going, I can see that says National League One. Like, no, that's got to go. I'm going to take that off. Like, I'll re-record the whole thing now.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's it's weird. Let us know below, by the way, for your FM superstition. I think that might be a section we might have to start doing, because I'm sure we're not the only ones who've got, oh, it has to be done like this and it has to be. Because I remember when I first started streaming, loads of people commented that I had the sounds on, the game sounds on.
Yeah.
And they're like, you've got game sounds on, you play with game sounds. I'm like, I'm making a TV show here. Of course we're going to have sounds, like, but at home, I'm not going to have them on at all. But hey, you know what? We're going to make an atmosphere. Why would you not?
That's a good point. We all do little sounds, then we all do little tunes, little jingles.
Yeah, but I just had like the match sounds on, so that you had the crowd, you had the goals, and people going, "Oh, I can't believe you got match sounds." I'm like, but you're watching this. Wouldn't it be weird if we didn't have it?
Yeah, I guess it goes back to everyone plays the game how they want to play it, and I think people should stop having a go at other people for playing it how they want to play it. You do what you want, type thing. Don't come 100%. Into me and tell me I'm doing something wrong. I'm just doing what I want to do. I'm just vibing, having a great time. Might not be your way, but you do it your own way. That's fine.
I think that's the best way to do it. And I think that message just has to be filtered out. Like, there's so many ways of doing it. We keep saying this is the ultimate choose your own adventure, essentially. Like, you know, no two people are going to play the same way. Even we're on a similar vibe, but we're going to play the game differently. Yeah. Like, you know, so we mentioned this. We've taught stream, and we've taught South End, which again is a great idea for a save built upon the real life struggles, of course, and going, you know what, yeah, I'm going to go there and do that. Like, historically, is that your sort of save? Are you a bit of a lower league or lower level manager? Like, or do you do like a challenge? Do you do these sort of ones where it's like, right, quick bang, win as many trophies as you can in a few seasons? Or how would your online saves very similar to what you would have played offline historically, I suppose?
I guess the dilemma always is, as a streamer or a content creator, we have to choose something that we want to do, so something we're going to enjoy. But at the same time, it has to be something that we think the audience is going to enjoy as well. And that's always a tricky little thing that goes around in your head, thinking, is this going to be the right save? Because I want to do it, but is everyone else going to enjoy this? My favorite kind of save has always been lower league. I would always, before streaming, my main save would always be like tier 10, get a really cool database, check it works, either create a club or take a club from tier 10, tier 11, and then build them up.
Yeah.
And I would do one of those every year. And I don't necessarily do that all the time now, because I feel like there's a market for doing bigger clubs on Twitch. And I think it's the reason why lots of people always do bigger clubs for the beta, for example, because that's almost what people at that time are interested in. So I definitely try and mix it up. I would usually try and do 2 main saves per cycle. One of them would be with a lower league team. One of them would be more of a journeyman with some bigger teams.
Yeah.
And I think Southend this year is obviously my lower league team. And it was something that I really wanted to do, but wasn't sure whether other people would enjoy it as much. As it turns out, they have, which is really good. The reason why that was going around my head was last year, I tried to do a save with someone called Gala Fairydean, who are in the lower leagues, mainly because I wanted to try Scotland and I wanted to choose a team with quite a funny name, because there's a lot of Scottish teams with quite funny names. No disrespect, of course. Chose them. It was going quite well. I just lost the love for it a little bit, really, because my viewer levels were going down. I felt like I wasn't really bonding with the chat at that time. You get a vibe that they're not that interested, really. And I'm sure I had a couple of hardcores that were loving it, but generally the feeling I got was, this isn't the vibe. They're not really loving this. I'm sitting here thinking, is this my favourite thing ever? And it wasn't. So I decided to leave it. And I'm now famous for, getting Gala into the Scottish Premier Division and then just like quitting the save because I just lost the love for it. So it's always the debate. Is it something I'm going to enjoy? Is it something that other people are going to enjoy? With Southend, yes. One of my favourite saves ever was the Carlo Ancelotti challenge, which I did last year.
Yeah.
Obviously, Carlo, he's won the top 5 divisions. He's won 5 Champions Leagues, and it was basically replicate that. So it involved going around lots of bigger clubs, which resonated with lots of people because, you're talking Man United's, Barcelona's, everyone's going to know the players, everyone's going to know the teams. So it got people to watch. But I think it takes more thought than people think just to be like, oh, I'm going to manage this team. It's not really that simple for us. And I'm sure you can almost say a similar thing.
Oh, 100%. Like, I think that we've got what I've been quite fortunate to do, and I think you're in the similar position, because we've been streaming for a sufficient amount of time now where our audience understand how we play the game and the style of save that we enjoy. There's enough people there to go like, look, whatever you do, we're just come to watch regardless, right? The save, we'll buy into it because we like spending time with you. Like, I think I've said this on a couple of other podcasts before. Like, I used to get a review, okay, whenever I went to Edinburgh Fringe, as a comedian, I used to always get this review, and I hated it at the time. I hated it, and the review was, "It's like spending an hour in the pub with your mate," and I hated that. I was like, "Where's that going to poster?" It doesn't mean anything. But now I'm streaming and making podcasts and stuff, and I'm like, that's the best quote I could possibly have, because that's people like spending time with you and they're happy to sit and listen to you talk for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. I was like, oh, if only I'd have understood that back then. So now when we're doing these saves, we did Indonesia a couple of years ago, and I was like, no one's doing Indonesia, and presumably for a reason. Like, not many people are massively clued up on the Indonesian league, but we had decent numbers for that. And then I didn't really understand how to do a build a nation, and I was sort of like starting to second guess myself, going like, is this going well? Is this going badly? And I was like, let's turn this to a journeyman, and it just plummeted. And I was like, I should have stuck with it. We did a British save last season, which was sort of like, was good for numbers because, again, familiarity, but we started in the second division of Northern Ireland. Now, no one's familiar with the second division of Northern Ireland, but numbers started really strong at the start of the game cycle, and it stayed. And of course, as we built further towards recognisable teams, it got that upward trajectory towards the back end of the cycle. We weren't dropping off viewers, which I guess some of the channels maybe were. And then while we were doing that, we were plotting this season with the chat. And I was like, look, I want to do a build a nation. I want to do it properly. Here's my nations that I'm considering. What do you reckon? Because we were even going to do like another version of the steel challenge, like with other nations, like, like a Scandinavian steel, an Alpine steel. And we had like these spreadsheets, like pros and cons and stuff. And some of my chat were like, do Brazilian second division. I'm like, no. And they're like, but we want to see you cry. Like, I was like, because nobody else wants to see that. But we built that with the Build a Nation. We built that with them. So, look, here's the nations we're looking at. What do you reckon? And then between us, we'll work out what a decent team is. So if they don't like it, well, they're sort of technically to blame as well, I guess, really.
Yeah, I think every Twitch streamer will have like their hardcore group that will be there no matter what. And I mean, I'm so appreciative of those guys, like, because I know if I'm going live, I know who's going to be there. I won't name them now, but they'll know who they are. And I just like for them to like give up their lives basically to be there for you every time you stream. Like, that's incredible support. And I probably don't thank them as much as I should, really, because they're always there and, they're great. And I think everyone knows their own audience. And so I will know for those particular people what they want to watch. And so you have to always go towards what they're going to enjoy, what you're going to enjoy. But at the same time, you want to try and get the new people in, because there's no point in us doing this if that's not going to happen. So it's striking that balance between your current audience, the ones you know you're going to be, that know they're going to be there, new people that are going to come in. Are they going to come in and think, this is a good save, I might hang around, this guy's all right, he's not horrible, let's stay here. And it's diversifying and make sure you're covering all of those types of people. I would say, like, the people in right now might be loving Southend, but when I come and try something a bit different after, it might bring in a new group of people.
Yeah, and some of them might go off and go, actually, no, we prefer the lower stuff. We're not bothered about watching Barcelona. Like, it's not like what I'm finding at the minute, and I'm loving it, is because we're doing Greece, we're getting loads of Greek viewers. And we're going to be like, oh my God, like you're streaming a Greek team. This is amazing. Yeah. Like, we had the same when we did Odd Ball Club in Norway. Loads of Norwegians like instantly flooding in, going, oh my God, like this is our team. And that's the cool bit.
It's like, really cool, isn't it?
The reach, because you presume that Football Manager is just a UK game, and of course it's not, and we know it's not. But the reach you get when you get someone international, the pride of those people coming and going, oh my God, you're doing a save from my nation. Like, I want to see how we get on. And that's the cool bit. That's really cool.
It is cool. And I had a couple last year come in as Gala Fairy Dean Rovers fans, and I was like, oh my God, this is mental. But for them to see me as like a well-known FM streamer doing their own hometown club, that's cool for them. It's cool for me. And I've got a couple of Southend fans at the moment that pop in and say hi, and they would never have been there if I didn't do Southend. So it's nice.
Absolutely. And how do you find the transition then from Twitch to things like TikTok, which obviously you've had great success at recently? I mean, how have you found that? Because I know you're saying maybe YouTube might be the next sort of thing that you're working towards, but you've gone from long form to what was at the time the shortest form content you could possibly do.
Yeah. When I first started streaming, my intention was just to stream. I wasn't going to do any of the other bits. The advice that anyone would give you is you have to do everything to grow. And I was like, but that's not my aim. I don't want to grow. I want to come and do some streaming and just enjoy it. Now, I did that for a bit, enjoyed it, and then it started to grow a bit. And I was like, right, how far could I take it? So you have to diversify, and you have to go and try other things. TikTok, I was always adamant I would never do it. I was one of those, it's for children. I'm not going to do some silly dances. Like, that's not for me. I didn't really understand it. And I think the people that say, oh, it's for children, they don't fully get what TikTok is really. That's not what it is anymore. Most of what you see on TikTok now will be things like tips and life hacks and things that would resonate with everybody. It isn't just 14-year-old girls putting their makeup on. I mean, there is part that is that, but then that isn't really what it's about. So it's all about finding out what the algorithm works for at that time. So I had about 6 months where my TikTok blew up. It was really good. I got 30,000 followers. It was going really well. And I just stopped posting for a bit, mainly because I needed a break. Because I was a bit FM'd out. I was a bit done at this point. I just wasn't that enthralled to do it. And as I said at the start, if I'm not enjoying it, I just won't do it because this is a hobby. But because of that, my whole progress just came to a halt. So for ages after, nobody was watching. I wasn't in the algorithm. And when that happens, it is demoralizing, because you reach a stage where you're doing okay, and then suddenly that success ends or stops. And it's annoying, and it's really hard to figure out, well, what am I doing wrong then? Are my videos not good anymore? When actually that's not the case. They're fine. It's just that's the way the algorithm, that's the way that it works, really. So I still TikTok quite a lot, enjoy it. It's not going as well as it was, but I'm still appreciative of obviously all the views and all of the stuff. That's really cool.
I mean, 1 million likes would say otherwise. Let's not be around the bush there. But I think you've mentioned a key part there again, and it's that feeding the beast, isn't it? It's feeding the beast. You've got to keep feeding the beast to keep growing. And I think that, again, it's bizarre how your story and my story are very, very similar. We didn't get into this to do this as a job. Our intentions were very much of, let's do this as something that we were doing anyway, and have a bit of a nice time doing it. And if people enjoy it, that's great. and we'll build something. And oh my God, hey, all these people have come and followed. This is weird. Like, we seem to have a nice time, and we seem to be doing fairly decent at it. And then you do get to a point where you go, how far can I push this? Which you're right. You've then said yourself, going, but maybe if I just do this, then that'll help push it on again, and we'll make a bit more of like a potential out of it. And you do run that risk of burnout there. And I know our listeners will know, particularly when it comes to our Patreon, again, which we said before we started recording, like, I was saying to you, like, we're doing weekly Patreon shows now, and I'm like, they're not just FM, like, because I can't just talk FM 24/7. Like, I have to do other stuff. I have to be like, right, the Patreon episodes can be a little bit different. There'll be FM stuff in there, but it's not an hour's worth of. So, what do you do in the situation when your ball winning midfielder doesn't win the ball anymore? It's more a case of, as we spoke with second yellow card, let's talk about bears for a bit, like that sort of thing. Oh, he loved it. We had a brilliant bit where we went off on a tangent about some sort of Italian mafia bear. You go back and the clip's gone out online. Have a look on Patreon, by the way, if you're not already part of the Patreon, to those who are listening. Listen to it and go, I don't know how they got to that bit. So
how did we end up here?
We started there. That's the problem. We started talking about wellies for a little bit, and then we ended up with bears, and then at the end it was, so build a nation go well as it might.
Yep, the end.
Pretty much. And I should say, by the way, a huge shout out to all the people who have joined Patreon this week, possibly off the back of those clips. Philip Clark, welcome in, Jocks, Daniel McQueen, Aaron Walk, and Matthew Gunderson. So thank you very much for being part of the Patreon squad. You can, of course, join the Patreon from as little as £3 a month. So if you want to do that, there's a description in the link below. Seamless, McKins, right?
It worked. We went with it. It worked.
Excellent stuff. Right, well, tell you what, let's start wrapping this one up then, because I think this has been a pretty good chat to us. I think we've covered most bases. If people want to start finding more about McKins, we'll mention YouTube. Sorry, you're about to start building up YouTube following as well. What can we find on YouTube?
What can you find? I feel like I try to get my personality across on YouTube the same as Twitch. And that's really, like we were saying before, it's really hard to do in video form. You almost can't do it fully, but I try. And I feel like my content is very diverse. I do lots of Wonder Kid things. I would try to do things that I'm interested in. And I know that maybe that's not the way to go. Lots of people are doing things because they know people will click on it and like it. But I want to do things that I would be interested in. And if I'm not, I can't put myself through making it. I'm not into that really. So lots of Wonder Kid things, lots of experiments, random things like taking teams out of other leagues and putting them into some leagues and seeing what would happen, and just general stuff like that. And yeah, all of my my FM playing is over on Twitch, and I'm over there most weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, usually, just having a great time, having a vibe. And you won't learn anything from me, but actually come and get a drink, put your feet up and come and chill out. That's what we do.
Be entertained. Be entertained is what it's all about. Like you're right. Like I'm the same with YouTube stuff. I'm looking at this through the eyes of a 43-year-old man going like, I just want to watch someone do a save. Like, I know the people will say you can't do a Let's Play on YouTube, but I'm like, you can do it. People will watch it. And I was doing mine, and I was sort of going, right, here's my Blind Spartans, and that we're doing fine. And then unfortunately, I kept I've properly binged Stinger's latest series. So shout out to Stinger, by the way, who just made me sit there and go, oh, as someone who used to be an editor, I need to really up my editing game, because he's smashed that content out of the park.
And that's the thing, isn't it?
So good.
There are certain people in the community where their content is just so clean and fantastic. The thumbnails, the editing, it's all just like seamless. And Stinger's one of those people that almost is like, he's nailed that. Yeah. Like he's got that down to a T now, so he's fine.
So there's a reason that my Let's Play has taken a 3-week hiatus while I go and reshoot and re-edit. Going, it's going to come back and everyone's going, "Hey Tony, we didn't. The first few episodes weren't like this." No, they weren't. But I was inspired by someone who was doing some great stuff. So so that's where I am. So so shout out to Stinger. Sorry, McKins, plug the YouTube channel. Where can we find you on YouTube?
I'm McKinsFM on all socials. So mainly on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, but I've got an Instagram. What else am I on? I'm on, search McKinsFM anywhere and you'll find me. Excellent. If you want to do it, you'll do it. If not, that's fine. Enjoy your life. Have fun. Behave
But have
yourselves.
more fun in a McKinsFM stream. That's what you're going to be doing.
I can guarantee you will enjoy at least part of it. At least part of it.
Honestly, I've been in those streams. They're absolutely fantastic. You can absolutely love him. So, McKins, thank you so much, of course, for being on the show. Please come back as well. We'll get you back to do some more things.
Absolutely, of course.
I think this has been fantastic. I do remember, of course, you can follow McKins all over the place. You can follow the FM show all over the place. It's at the FM Show Pod on all of our social media channels. Of course, as we said, Patreon is patreon.com/the FM Show Pod. And if you want to send us an email, it is, unsurprisingly, the FM Show Pod at gmail.com. So, rounding off, that was episode 27 of the FM Show, hosted by myself, Tony Jameson. My co-host this evening was McKins. Didn't have a producer. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. All the best.
Want to learn even more about Football Manager? Subscribe to the Patreon. Just visit patreon.com/the FM Show Pod. Don't forget to rate and review, and follow along on the socials at the FM Show Pod.